If I could ask you to remain standing for just one moment. We recently lost a charter member of the Manistee Township Party Plan of the Manistee Senior. We can have a moment of silence. Thank you. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2013 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Been moved, supported that the meeting, minutes of the meeting of October 10th, 2013 be approved and placed on file. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Carried. The treasurer's report. Connie distributed the treasurer's report to you this evening. What are your wishes?
Make a motion to accept it as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved, supported that the treasurer's report be accepted as presented. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Carried. Is there any planning commission meeting minutes?
Their meeting is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. And any appeals board meeting minutes?
No.
No appeal. You looked at your correspondence in your packet. Anyone with anything to bring before the board? Other than the agenda items? Yes, sir.
Just time for public comments or something?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, some time ago, and I guess I gotta go by the date, it was 2 years ago now. My name is Dan Urson anyway. A lady, friendly neighbor, wandered over and said, I've got a petition and I want you to look at this to see what we can do possibly about some weeds in Bar Lake. It was a friendly conversation in my backyard, and so the wife and I signed that. But we didn't realize what was going to become of that until quite recently, when we were told there was a petition, or the petition actually committed us to Part 309 of the Public Acts, which in essence gave a 5-member Bar Lake Improvement Board the authority to dictate how much taxes and what sort of an assessment we're going to have. When that initial petition was presented, there was no explanation as to what the special assessment district was. I cannot recall any language in there relative to Part 309 or any of the legalistic terminology in that petition. So I have, upon occasion, at least a couple different occasions, gone to the Bar Lake Improvement Board and questioned the validity of that petition, which started the whole arrangement. Ultimately, Carl Waitner told me, well, you got to take that up with the township because they are the governing body. I said, okay, well, so I'm here today. The petition, or alleged petition that everyone signed, has a great number of discrepancies that makes me tend to question the validity of it. We did ultimately get copies of it, and when we got copies of the signatures, the format of the petition is totally, well, to me, it looks about as authentic as a $3 bill. The format shows this language, but the distance between the signature lines and an address and date information varies with every page. I have no reason to believe, or no reason to doubt either, that those signatures were copied and pasted to some other language that we didn't sign initially. I have no way of knowing that that hasn't happened, but I can't be sure that it didn't. Also, what makes me believe this is my name appears on page number 8. There's another line above the signature line that looks like it's been cut off from something and pasted to this page. This is really a real shoddy bit of workmanship as far as the petition is concerned. Any petition I've signed, it's on a format that everyone has. It's certainly easy enough to run a copy of the petition forms where everybody to sign, so they all sign the same thing. I've gone through the signatures. There are something like 80 properties on Bar Lake, which would mean in order to make the Bar Lake Improvement Board a valid body, they'd have to have something, well, they'd have to have 2/3 of the riparian owners, which would be, roughly 50, 53. I've gone through the signatures on this, and in this petition it's very obvious that each individual did not sign their name to it. There's several occasions where you don't have to be a handwriting expert to realize that the same person signed for himself and his wife. That's not a valid way to go on a petition. Some of the printed names were obviously entered by someone else. The signature might be different, but the printed name has been put in by some other person because that handwriting is the same. Like I say, there were at least several indications in places there where that happened. One lady appears on one page. A couple of pages later, she appears again. She signed. Her name is on the petition twice. In the second occasion, her husband signed along with her. Same handwriting. Looks like he signed her name at the same time. She's already been signed, so that invalidates that particular signature.
So the question you have, Dan, is then the validity of the petition?
Of the petition itself, yeah. It's very shoddy. What I have suggested in the past to Carl was that, we don't agree with finding ourselves suddenly assessed. So this has all led to Part 309, which was something that we never knew what was all about until all of a sudden we find we've got to pay $250 on our over and above our tax in the next 3 years. I had in the past suggested to Carl that why don't we table any further action on the Bar Lake improvement business until a valid and unquestionable signature or petition can be brought forward, and we can look at it from there, something that is unquestionable. And also I suggested at that time that if, in fact, 2/3 of the riparian owners do sign a new petition to reinstate this particular function, the riparian owner's representative not be someone who is so obviously biased. The instigator, he's one of the instigators of this whole situation, so we've got a 5-member board that's going to decide the fate of our finances for the next whatever, because Part 309 is a permanent thing. It's not just a 3-year thing. It can go on and on. But we know there's one vote on that 5-member board that is obviously going to vote for whatever the cost is going to be to do whatever it takes to do something to Bar Lake. At that point, there's a great conflict of interest there with him, because he has rental cottages on it, and if all his neighbors decide to improve the lake and enhance his rental ability, he can go from there. So, at any rate, that's my presentation, and my suggestion is that the governing board here in some way put an end to this foolishness ordinance that has done nothing but cause consternation, and a lot of the neighbors probably are never going to talk to each other. This is the most divisive thing that's ever hit the Bar Lake area, which was a pretty calm and friendly little neighborhood at one time. It's pitting neighbor against neighbor, and it's just not worth the end just doesn't justify the means.
Thanks, Dan.
If I might suggest that the board sit down with Dan and let him show you all the discrepancies in this petition that shows that it is a waste of our time. It's not legal. It's not a petition of validity to carry this on. The board that we are dealing with, not this board obviously, but the Bar Lake Improvement Board that we are dealing with is very biased because of one member at least, and he has even put in the public newspaper that we are all on board with the illegal operation that he did. We didn't even know about what he was doing until the DNR came into the picture and his charges were put in the paper. So he is supposedly representing us very wrongly. He is not representing us. He is representing a very few people that want this to go through, and he is biasing the whole improvement board by doing this, because he is not talking for everyone. He is only talking for a few people. And this is an influence on a board that is to decide our fate with our homes, and that is wrong. It is wrong for somebody to say, I'm going to put a lien on your home whether you like it or not. And that's not right. This board should not have that kind of authority. And in a letter that Mr. Waitner himself had someone read at our last meeting, he was criticizing us for what we were saying outside of his meeting or even in his meeting, therefore trying to take our freedom of speech away from us. We have a right to our opinion, whether it's inside the building or outside. He cannot control what we want to say. This has never happened in our neighborhood, and it is totally wrong. You're forcing people out of their homes because some of these people cannot afford to. They're lucky to keep their homes as it is, let alone putting more liens upon them. And this is a certain neighbors in the neighborhood that is doing this to other neighbors, and it's totally wrong. We should be able to control our own homes and our own pocketbooks, not expect to pay for other neighbors' problems.
Yes, ma'am.
Sandra Nowak. I would like to represent another part of this whole situation, and that is the people that don't necessarily live here. We own property here, but we may not live here. We knew nothing about this until this summer. There is numerous people, not just several, numerous people that had nothing to do with that petition. They had no idea that it existed. If it was valid, and if it was 2/3, you've got a lot of people who didn't know what was happening, and that they just came up from the Detroit area last month they just heard about it in September. So not everybody is informed, and to this day probably not everybody is informed. We're slowly getting everybody up to speed, but I don't understand the madness of continuing to go on if we can't take a step back and reevaluate this whole thing, because not everybody was on board to begin with, and even questioning the validity of the petition itself. And it just keeps steamrolling. At the last meeting on Monday, there was a couple people that came in with a proposed grant. They wanted to write a grant to get monies to purchase a pontoon boat to go and suck up the millweed. And without blink of an eye, it was moved, seconded, and went forward that the grant was going to, be pursued. Again, $26,000, if not more, that we're going to be responsible for. Now, the county supposedly is going to own this pontoon boat, but it was discussed that we would have to have some type of assessment regarding it because it was going to be proposed to be used at Bar Lake, which is actually a swamp. So you know, twofold is the validity. The other half of the people that own property don't know what's going on. I don't know what this board can do about it. This board gave them the authority. I would just wish that you would listen to the residents and see that there is a conflict here, and it's going too fast, and questions are being asked later that are very important, and the answer is, sorry, we can't do anything about that now. And that's on a couple different levels. So questions have to be answered and looked at and evaluated first before seconds and movements and, you know, I move to go here and there and the other. And then, oh, who's going to maintain the boat? And there's so many questions. Where's it going to be stored? You know, who's going to come up with a 20% match? And this is financial to us as residents. And I'm up here often enough to know that I bought on Bar Lake because it is what it is. I didn't want to water ski. I never wanted to run a power boat. I like kayaking, I like canoeing, and I like fishing. And that's what most of the residents like. It's the residents that have rental property or that have grandkids that maybe want to go zooming past, which is only 5 feet deep anyways. And I think that the lake has been the way it has been for over 60-some years. And I feel like we're just moving too fast on this, and nobody's got a clue until later, and then it's too late.
Plus the pontoon boat, there was not even a full board there to approve this grant. There
There were three
people.
board members.
3 board
at the
members,
meeting.
and the chairman himself was not there.
And the whole thing just went in a blink of an eye. There it goes. It's a done deal. They're going to go write the grant. Now, granted, I mean, a grant is a pain in the butt, and it's very hard to come by. I understand this. They're extremely difficult to get. So that's not to say that they're going to get it, but they're moving in the direction to get it. Now, the questions that need to be up front is, what if they do get it? Maintenance, storage, ownership, liability, insurance. You know, let's be proactive on some of these concerns that we can do something about now, instead of later, it's going to be too late. We can't address that. It's already going.
Thank you. Let me start a dialogue here. This board was asked if they had a problem with the Bar Lake Association being formed. At that time, this board did not have a problem with that. The Bar Lake formed their board, elected, and correct me if I'm wrong, Guy, because you're on. Yes. Formed the board, elected their officers, and started their petition drive, so on and so forth. And okay.
Let me back you up.
all right, please do.
People around Bar Lake, somebody brought a petition to the township, to the township clerk for certification, which triggered the township board, required the township board to form the Bar Lake Improvement Board. Once they validated the signatures on the petition, once you're the clerk, then by law, the township board had to form the Bar Lake Improvement Board.
I think we need clarification, because my recollection was not at all that either. My recollection was when Richard Wilson sat here, he said, this is a courtesy to you, you have no say in it.
Right.
They can form whatever they want, they just have to have the right property numbers involved. And our job was to get them the property numbers for that petition, so that they were going to the right people, not, going to people that didn't have any interest in Bar Lake. But he very much informed us, because I didn't want to be involved in a Bar Lake association. I didn't want to have a say. I don't live on Bar Lake. How would I know what's best for Bar Lake? I didn't want to have to make that decision. And he said, you have no right to make a decision. They will tell you if they're going to have an association.
Right. We signed it, we being the board, and it could have been established if we did not sign it. There's a way it was explained up.
It was a courtesy, and that we were aware that there was going to be a Bar Lake association. And then there was, the Bar Lake association came to us asking for money, and we did not pursue that, and that's when they went to the county. But it was more or less because I said, I don't want to have to be part of this.
There's a difference between the association and the improvement board. You are talking about forming an association, but there's an offshoot of that, which is the improvement board, which has 5 people that are making all the decisions, one of which lives there and has ulterior motives. Just to clarify.
Yeah, well, yeah, Saunders right.
Yeah,
We're
that's
confusing
where-
two things here. There's an association of landowners around the lake. Right? It may be a loosely formed association.
Now let's just take this one piece at a time, and those people are the people that were asked to sign a petition. And
Those are the people that circulated a petition and brought it to the township clerk. And then,
Okay.
when she certified that there was 2/3 of the landowners around the lake that had signed it, then the township board is required by law to form the improvement board, which is a legal board under state statute. And I don't know what, I don't remember any conversation with Richard Wilson.
Yeah, and that was regarding the association. I know after the board was created after the petition went out.
Okay.
And that's when you and Clara were put out. Because there had to been, you know, someone in the township.
Right.
Yeah, I got all that. I'm just, so all you're asking for is that the board be dissolved, or?
No, I think what, can I paraphrase? Is that all right for you guys? What they're asking, they're challenging the petition, is validity. Whether there really are enough signatures on it, or were enough signatures on
Or their valid signatures.
it, or whether they're valid signatures.
And how do we prove that?
That goes back to you
No,
guys.
I mean, we're willing to do that if there's a way that we can do that.
Is it possible to, I'm sorry, my name is Keith Winter. Is it possible to, a way to validate this is to send around a petition right now and have like an officer, you know, of the board or something, to actually everybody come in to one spot, so his affidavit, you know, my friend is not signing it, my brother is not signing it, for my wife, you know, because I have issues, I take issues to that. You can't have somebody else sign for you.
Oh, I understand.
And right there, that you gotta throw that out.
Also, my name is Larry Kurzan.
Yeah,
It said this was turned in by the drain commissioner on 8/24/2011. And I was told that it wasn't accepted at that time because there wasn't enough valid signatures.
That's correct.
That's correct?
That is correct.
Okay, then how did they get the rest of the sig-
2011?
2011, it was turned in to me,
Okay, I'm sorry.
and it was, there were not enough valid signatures at that time. They got more signatures, brought it back in, and it was validated in July of 12.
But if you notice on this the petition, there's not a date past this date of 8/24. How did they get the signatures
11, Larry, or 12?
11? There's not a signature with a date past 8/24/2011. And if it was invalid at that time, how did they get the signatures?
The same signatures can be represented with
Right,
additional
but the date,
pages.
if they didn't get, if it wasn't dated right, then
But if they
It
were
was
all
dated, the only date in question is the date that they signed it.
right.
And there are no dates signed after that meeting where you said they needed more signatures. There are no more dates after that. So if they got no, they didn't have any more signatures dated after that, it can't be valid.
See, the assessment is based on property, not individual people. Properties are gonna be assessed by the riparian owner or owners if it's jointly owned. So, a husband and a wife as joint owners would count as one. You can't count both of them as, for the purpose of
They both have to
numbers.
sign
But
for
there's
one parcel.
One parcel. The owner only counts for one.
Yeah.
So, as I went through this, I came up with maybe 47 valid, and that didn't even include some that are questionable, or that did include some that are still questionable, so I don't see where they came up with 50-some to make 2/3 of 80 parcels.
Do you have page 9, 10, 11 of the petition? Pages 9, 10, 11, and 12 are all dated in 2012, not 2011. Daniel, I can't read his last name.
We only had pages up through 8 when we requested copies.
Okay. Apparently you didn't get those other copies, but I have pages 9, 10, 11, and 12 that are all dated for 2012. April of 2012, Jim Kislick, May of 2012, Judith Mann, May of 2012, David Coyle, 2012. I didn't read every one, and there's some off of each page that are 2012. I'm sorry if you don't have those pages.
Could we
But
get
I don't
copies of
have
that?
them.
Yes, after the meeting. The petition itself was written by a lawyer. I had Richard Wilson, the township's lawyer, read it. He said it was correct. You're talking about lines, see these black lines? Those are some that I did not authorize. They were not legal, or they were not riparian owners.
Those are, that was on the first 8 pages, those that were...
Yeah.
How did, the copies we have don't have any black names on it?
Because I had many copies that I used as working copies, and every time I started over again, I used a new set of copies so that I wouldn't be screwing up the original petitions.
Well, the original petition should have the people's names on them that aren't. The copies we got?
You don't have pages 9, 10, and 11?
No.
I don't know why you don't have those pages.
I think we actually had to go through the Freedom of Information Act in order to get the pages.
Yeah.
You know, right, there's so many people. Dan, where did you get yours from?
I
Courthouse?
got them from Cheryl Winter, who's another one of the riparian owners, and I believe she got them here. We initially only got the text of this thing, and they were very reluctant to even give us copies of the signatures. We practically had to go through the Freedom of Information Act to get a copy of the signatures.
Here?
Yeah, I phone called, talked to her, and she says, draft up a letter. She told me how to draft it up for the Freedom of Information Act. Eddie Sam came by, because I work in Traverse, came by and picked them up.
So those are the copies that you have, Dan?
I believe so, yeah.
But they don't match the copies that Joy has.
These are the original signatures.
What Dan is saying, they don't have pages 9, 10, and 11?
Right, we just got pages, we were just given pages 1 through 8.
Plus you don't have the blacked out area, right?
What? Yeah. Why wouldn't we get the pages with the black color?
Because I was giving pages of the original petition. I did no markings of any sort on here.
Well,
I
these
made
must have been
copies.
changed, the copies we got, because people, these only have like most of the riparian owners. The petition must have been changed.
Well, you can give them copies of that, can't you? Okay. Well, would you please give them current copies as you have them blacked out or whatever?
But Joy does need a letter for freedom of
These are the
information.
original petitions. This is what they can get copies of. You don't get copies of my working.
I see, okay. So, Larry, those are the original petitions that you got a copy of? She did not black out the original petitions? She blacked out her worksheets.
The people's names.
And that would give you
Were on the petition, weren't blacked out on these then?
No.
Where the names are blacked out are on their worksheets. In other words, those are the invalid signatures, or for
Right.
whatever reason they're not valid.
Everything's on here.
On their worksheets,
Right.
not on the original.
But right now, we have to write a letter to Joy for Freedom of Information Act, correct? To get pages 9, 10, and 11 to that petition.
That's what
But there are,
we're
but there are still discrepancies in the petition pages that they do have. That makes it invalid. Well, it's people signing other people's names, with people signing on two different pages. Names are on one page, then the next page has her name again.
Is there an
I mean,
inspection
there are
process
still
in that, other than
discrepancies in
yourself?
what we have.
not other than myself. What I did is I went to the county, I got a list of the owners around the lake. Some of them, people are not able to sign because they have a trust, and only one person, even if it's a husband and wife, can sign for a trust. So Dan and Mary Lou, if you both have a trust, only one of you can sign. So that signature, the opposite one, was not, one of them would have been allowed, the other one would not. If it is jointly owned property, you're both allowed to sign.
In the application of it being a joint property, do both people have to sign?
They do not have to sign, but they are a part of a whole. And if it's 100 signatures that's required, because of the total amount of owners, if it's 100, you have to have 2/3 of that, which is 67.
But if one person, and let's say a wife signs, and the husband does not, and he does not want this petition to be approved, doesn't that knock her out then, because
No.
it's a conflict?
She is still a part owner of the property. She has every right to disagree or agree with her spouse.
Can I just ask one question? So let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm not very good at math, but let's just say there's 100 property parcels around the lake. And let's just say there's one place, one property that has 300 people that own it, just argument's sake. How would you generate, how many people do you need to get to the 2/3?
You count all the total landowners. If there's 300 on one parcel, that's 300.
And are you sure of this?
That's what I was told by the lawyer.
So it's not by the parcel then, it's by the person?
It's by the
Because
land
that
owners.
doesn't sound right.
I'm sorry, but that's what I was told.
I think we should look that up. I mean, just because he said it, or you understood it that way, it's not written, there's no law, no case law, there's nothing. This guy said it. I have to have some more proof.
Yeah, I'd like to challenge that, that both owners don't have to sign it. If they both own it, they have to both sign it. It's gotta be it's jointly owned. You can't partition them off and say only one has responsibility for the say of all.
You're still leaving 2/3 of the total ownership.
But for that one parcel, if you have two people on it, those two people have to be legally
That's not the way I understood it. I maybe understood wrong, and I will talk to the lawyer, the township's lawyer.
Because it's owners of the property, you can't split the owners apart. If you want the vote of
They
that
both
property,
can go and vote.
if you want the vote of that property, but this is apples and bananas here, we've got a piece of property with two people. You can't just say, oh, one of you can have a say in it. They both own it.
If I may make a suggestion, none of us here are legal counsel. No one out there is legal counsel.
I am.
Okay. So then you take down a list of your questions, and we'll take them to our legal counsel, and we'll ask each and every one, and we'll get back to you with an answer for every one of them.
Or I can call them.
I don't care. Call them.
Why is she doing that? Can we postpone any and all actions?
We have no authority to do
Okay.
that. Unfortunately, sir, we're not trying to
You're the ones who said it in
Hold it,
motion.
hold it. We're the ones, did you hear what the board members said? Is that they came in here and said that they were gonna set this up? And they came to us as a courtesy to let us know that they were doing this. We're not the ones that said that you're gonna do it or you're not gonna do it. We
We
don't,
need our township board behind us here to help us with this.
we would like to get the answers as well as you do, because it puts us in a spot sitting up here. We'll be glad to help you in any way we can. What we need, give us your questions, and we'll do everything we can to get you the answers.
How quickly can we do that? Because they're going to have another meeting on December 2nd, whether this goes through or not. We have to do something about this before that meeting, or we need help postponing that meeting until we get our questions answered.
He sent us, they sent us back to you people.
Yes.
They wouldn't answer our questions.
Yeah, Carl, that letter that Carl
There.
wrote said, go and talk to the township.
On section.
Guy, if you could shed some light on this, please, because Guy is a representative on that board, and he can answer these questions more so than we can, going by hearsay.
I'll try. I'm supposed to represent the township as a whole on the board. And as is Clara, anyway, the way I understand it, once the board is formed, the only way it can be dissolved is if 2/3 of the owners, again, circulate a petition to dissolve the board, or the conditions that, or the improvements that need to be made to the lake no longer exist. There's nothing that needs to be done to the lake. Now, that doesn't mean we couldn't delay, but we probably have to hold a special meeting to do that, because we did set hearing dates for December 2nd. And we have expended some funds.
Is that the first of your public hearings on this?
Well, there were some on October 18th, and I was not there, unfortunately. So, and they did not make a decision on the 18th on whether to move forward or not. So, at last Monday's meeting, we set a date of December 2nd to reconsider.
Well, if I understand this correctly, Guy, didn't they get a loan from the county for $15,000?
That's what I said, we've already spent money on studies.
They got a loan from the township as well.
Well, we haven't spent that money.
No.
Yeah.
We didn't
Yeah.
know that.
But we have to have a hearing on that before we spend that money also.
If I might, the 2/3 of the property owners to dissolve the board is not the only way that can be done, or has to be done. According to section 30929, the lake board for the inland lake is dissolved if any of the following requirements are met. The governing body of each local unit of government in which all or part of the lake is located holds a public hearing on the proposed dissolution and determines that the lake board is no longer necessary for the improvement of the lake because of reasons the establishment of the lake board no longer exists, and approves the dissolution of the lake board. So the governing body can do that arbitrarily, and the language, of course, says that if the lake improvement board no longer, the reason for it no longer exists, well, if the reason that it was entirely formed by 2/3 petition is invalid, then certainly the board no longer exists until that can be resolved.
Another question here about 2/3 is the backlot owners. As of yet, they have not been pulled into any kind of financial indebtedness. However, at several meetings, it's been discussed that eventually they will. So this 2/3 that they got riparians, I think could be broadened out to 2/3 of the whole backlot owners as well, because they will be pulled in whether they like it or not, and half of them are clueless. And they're right there, they're right across from the water. And one more thing I want to challenge is that we would have to do another Freedom of Information Act to get those 3 pages. We did one for the totality of the pages, we did not get the totality of the pages. I think those 3 pages would come under the Freedom of Information Act that we filed previously. If they existed then, they were part of the packet. And I would just like to challenge that we would have to do that again.
I would agree with you.
Isn't there a time limit on petitions? I mean, you can run a petition. I'd like you to ask your lawyer if you can run a petition for years until you find somebody to sign.
Yeah, on that petition, there are some people that have passed away, or property has changed hands. And the new owners or the old owners didn't know what was going on. I mean, there's just a lot of questions, you know.
We need those questions. I guess in order to be fair to you people, we need those questions so that we can try and find the right answers.
At this public hearing, December 2nd, I think you people should be that as well.
Oh, yeah.
But
They won't answer our questions. What the hell do you do?
Do they, well, I'm not, Gary.
I have a question, Joy. The petitions that you were presented with. Now, when the person came to my home, the spot that I signed on there wasn't room for anybody else to sign. So do you have those individual sheets?
Your wife has signed on the back of one of the other sheets.
Well, I assure you, when whoever it was that came to our home, when we signed it, we both signed it on the same page.
Yes, this is on the same page.
Is my
She's
signature on
number
there?
63?
Is my signature on there?
Yes. You were number 52, she was number 63. Don't ask me why, but that's what they wrote. You're on the front, down the last one. She is on the back.
Now, see, the signatures that Dan has, my signature doesn't appear.
Page 6?
No page, whatever. It's not on
I
there.
can see where maybe your wife's wouldn't have. It does say on the front of page 6, see other side for Mary Jean Bentley, number 63. On page 6 at the very bottom.
Isn't that a little peculiar?
Well, on page 7, I've got that note that's number 63, Mary Jean Bentley, appears on the reverse of page 6. And I got a blank page here with her name on it, but I don't have any signature, any 50, what was 50?
52 was Gary Bentley.
I think there's
Page
definitely a
6.
question of the validity of the signatures in the petition. That is one issue. If we could get those other pages, if we could come up with questions for the attorney regarding the validity of the petition, that would take care of that issue, at least those questions. The other issue here is the part that people don't know what's going on and it's going too fast. I understand that you yourselves cannot take any legal action against the Bar Lake Board, but somebody has got to oversee this board because they are running loose and free and very fast.
I don't know if it would do any good, ma'am, but we could, and then I'm just shooting from the hip here. We could draft a letter on the Township Board's letterhead asking the Bar Lake Improvement Board to slow down. If there's too many questions, take their time, don't spend their money. And I hate to put you in the limelight, but does that sound fair to the board, Guy?
Yeah. I think you should direct it to the chair of the board.
That's fine.
And who is the chair?
Carl Wagner. Junior.
Just ask them to slow down. Winter time's coming, they're not gonna do anything now anyway, right? Is that a fair assessment? Go ahead.
Yeah, Danny, I just like to say, I think that it's going on, there's a lot of people around the neighborhood that are misinformed or not informed at all. You can see that, the people you talk to, nobody has a clue what's going on. You know, if they do receive a thing about the special meeting they had on the 4th, all there was a special meeting on the 4th. Nobody said anything about their taxes going up, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a lot of misinformation, you know, that people do not know in the neighborhood.
Population is not informed.
Just not informed. There's no, till we started going to the meetings, until we started talking to the board, there was no sign out on Piney Road. There was no sign out in front of one of the board members. There was nobody, there's no information, I'm gonna say, down Cott Road to the east, or Don's Road, or the people on that side of the lake. Nobody knows there was even a meeting going on for months, till we finally started getting some people who realized that something was going on. The people in the neighborhood didn't have a clue these meetings were going on. So I think that people along Bar Lake been somewhat railroaded into this without any information, or led to believe that there's even meetings going on.
It's a handful of people that are really controlling.
Let me propose, tell me what you think. Let me propose, you make them a new copy of a complete set of your petitions, is that all right? That way, because it sounds to me like there's some mixed up copies here, or some copies that are, and we would like a list of questions from whomever, and we'll try and get those answers for you as quickly as we can. And we will
One set
draft,
of questions, correct?
pardon me?
I mean, if we all got together and had, so there isn't repetitiveness, there isn't.
You all don't have to call my house tonight.
I don't want to talk to you anyway.
What's that number again? I know where.
But, and then we draft a letter stating that we're gonna ask the Bar Lake Improvement Association to slow down. Board.
Not an association.
Board, to slow down a little bit, there's too many questions, and explain to them, if they don't watch TV, that there's a lot of concerns. Is that gonna help?
I'm kind of leery of like doing questions on a piece of paper to an attorney and waiting for him to answer back. Again, I'd like to volunteer to talk with him. I think that might trigger some further questions on one question, where if we put down in writing question 10, he's gonna answer questions 10. And then somebody may look at it, I may look at it and go, yeah, but what about part A and B to question 9? Well, he wasn't asked that.
Well, we'd have to ask our attorney if that's, and you may know the answer, but we're gonna have to ask the attorney if that's all right if we do that.
Okay, I'm glad to meet with him.
Fair?
There've been several, suggestions to reach some sort of compromise on this. I think, it's been expressed at least at one of the meetings that the permanentness of this Bar Lake Improvement Board is of some great concern, because they have the word is practicability. If someone comes along and says, well, yeah, we're going to harvest those weeds now, but we don't have enough money in the fund right now to do that, so we're going to assess those people, and I think that's practicable. The 5-member board has the authority to determine what's practicable as far as your pocketbook is concerned. And if you can't pay it, you got to lean on your house. We got one lady in the neighborhood, they're just barely getting by, and she's in tears over this already, because they don't know where they're going to get the $250 for the next 3 years that we're being assessed to pay off the loan that somebody took. I called this one time, I mentioned this as a blank check. I said, don't you people realize you're signing a blank check? Carl said, oh, it's not really a blank check. I said, well, I thought myself, well, if it isn't, who signed my $250 away for the next 3 years? It had to be a blank check. I didn't sign anything. So,
one of the key words here is compromise too. There should be a compromise where the board sits down with the people that really have a lot of questions. Maybe cut the phases short, and I know
Well, I
it's all
assume
talk
that
for
that's
you.
what the public hearings are for.
Right, but they don't,
That's the purpose of it.
well, that's not what we have.
One of the compromises, one of the compromises could be as Chief Lake does. The association, and the people that belong to that association, takes care of the weeds in front of the homes, in front of the property of those that want to do it. they pay and only they pay. Anybody else on that lake who does not want to contribute to this weed kill and does not want their property have chemicals in front of it, does not have to have it done. It's done on a personal basis. You don't like the weeds, you take your money, you get your weeds out. You leave everybody else alone.
That idea should probably be brought forward at,
Oh, it has. Yeah.
oh, okay, sorry.
But we're in part 309, which don't allow any compromise.
Gary?
Danny, I think one of the big problems here, besides the notification of people or the lack of it, and that really is the crux of the whole matter, is that there's no limit on how much this board can spend. There's no limit.
There's no limit on how much of our money they
My
can.
understanding. And if they're, we're talking about compromises, somewhere along the line, there's gotta be a limit.
Sure.
There's gotta be a limit. People can't afford that.
I think
That's wrong to do that.
one of the suggested compromises was, well, okay, we're indebted for $250 per year for the next 3 years. They want to go ahead and take care of some juries and milfoil. After that 3 years, leave us alone. Let's abandon the whole project. Then that was one compromise that somebody had once suggested. Get the milfoil out, do what you're going to do, and then give us our money back, or leave our pocketbook alone. We'll
Give us
take
our
care of it
life
from
back.
there. We want our life back, yeah.
Stop it, please.
Yeah.
And hold on,
Yeah.
instead of, they're going into phase 2 now.
Okay. Does that sound fair to you people? Is that, I know it's not,
Not
standard.
the answers that everybody wants, but you know what? It's a compromise and we'll take that.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Larry,
I just was gonna say that I live across the street from Bar Lake, but I have 25-foot access to it. And I'm charged $250 for 3 years, while Mr. Gans has 18 acres over there, he has rental cottages, and I'm paying the same amount as he is. And I doubt if they were even gonna do anything in the weed area that I live in, the swamp over there. So, I don't see where they came up with this unit evaluation.
Larry, I'm sorry, I don't have any idea. But we'll find out. We'll try and get you some answers and try and help you out here somehow. This whole thing got started because they had the petitions. Now, whether the petitions are valid or invalid, that's one question, but that's how the whole thing got started, so.
Somebody did his homework, and it's got this far.
Well,
If they were
And they went till they had enough signatures and didn't bother with the rest of them.
could I respectfully request that we do a copy of that before the meeting's over? Because a lot of us, I don't think are going to stay for the whole meeting.
Well, that's all just as interesting as this.
Maybe I'll stay. As long as we don't start yawning, you're okay.
I would ask, we're missing a member now, and if someone could wait until the meeting's over, Joey would make those for you, okay? Anything else?
Thank you.
Carl's not here, county commissioner's not here.
That's convenient.
Yeah. Guy, have you got a report?
Well, I'm not gonna talk about Bar Lake any longer. Yeah, we knew about, the planning commission meets tomorrow. There's gonna be a public hearing prior to that meeting about a special land use permit application for daycare group home, just so everybody knows. That was published in the paper. The committee from the township is still working, trying with the city on city water, providing a commercial district. In the office, I had 8 receipts, which is probably the most I've ever had, I think, in 5 years. 1 new home, 2 new accessory buildings, 4 additions, and a land division. And I did receive a complaint on junk, concerning junk on Oakfield Street, which I had to find, I didn't even know. Yeah, I didn't know the name of the street. I wrote him a letter. I received a complaint last Thursday, wrote the letter yesterday. basically gave them 30 days to take care of the problem. That's it.
Thank you. Now, if any of you people want to leave, now would be a good time. We'll take 5 minutes before Chuck gives his report, or if you're all set, we'll continue. Okay, Chuck, you're on, Mike.
Hi, I'm Chuck Barron. I'm the fire chief of Manistee Township. I'll be brief. We had 22 total runs last month, 13 medical, 5 fire, and then 5 training sessions for October. Approximately 155 personnel hours. I had 72 hours. The other officers had 54. We issued 6 burn permits. Under apparatus, well, we're still looking at that new truck. I'd like to sit down sometime and work on that hopefully before the next board meeting so we can see where we're at, so we can get that possibly ordered or look at different options before the end of the year. Current trucks are in good working order. There's no major repairs at this time, just some minor things that we're working on. Working on new truck sheets. I'm also working on updating the maintenance and repair system there, like red tagging the truck in case it's out of service or something, so everybody knows. The new MFR rig we did get, we did pay $2,000 for it. It's a really nice rig. We're waiting on the state to come inspect it before we move our stuff over that rig, and also a plate when the state's coming too. But we have to wait for the folks to come from the state and actually inspect it. And that's to be determined yet. But it should be before the next board meeting, I hope. The station, we had the open house went pretty well. We had actually nice weather and it rained later. And during the weather, the tones went off. That was kind of interesting. Kind of surprised everybody. We did not plan that for anybody that was there. We had about 150 people show up. That was kind of nice. Also, but if you didn't get to come there, on Monday nights we meet around 7 o'clock. Feel free to stop by. Somebody will give you the tour. The hose drying rack, that was installed today. I think there's some minor adjustments need to be made, but it looks really nice. Or not nice. There's some minor adjustments to the building being made. The garage doors need to be adjusted a little bit. And the back door latches. They were supposed to be working on that today. I gotta get the electrical panel updated. There's no list on what it is, so I gotta get that. I did put a call into Rollcheck, gave me a price on putting a light on the north side of the building. It's really dark on that side. When you come outside, you gotta hit your button on your truck to kind of see where your truck's at and your vehicle's at. It's kind of a hazard. And also getting a price on putting the new sign up, because that's not good. But I'm just waiting on prices just to come back to that. Equipment, we did, when the folks came back to do the floor, they did a really nice job of touching up the paint. It looked really nice the next day. We were worried the paint wouldn't dry before the next day for the open house, but it did dry. They had a floor scrubber that they were selling, and basically give it to us for gas money to bring it up from Lansing. So we're going to keep that floor nice and shiny, and beats mopping too. So for basically $100. And if anybody knows what a floor scrubber is, it's what they use to kind of keep the floors clean. So. For personnel, we had our meeting the other night, and for assistant chief position, we'd like to fill that with Tom Johnson. So we have a motion to fill with Tom Johnson Monday night. Well, that leaves the captain's position vacant, and by hopefully next meeting, we'll have that position filled. We also had 2 new applicants that turned in applications, and we'll be going through that process with those folks. Administrative, we put in for that 50/50 grant from the DNR. We should find something out maybe this month or part of December. Revenue sharing, we should find out hopefully next month. And then the last thing was the FEMA grant. We're working on a FEMA grant for new SCBA's, 10 of them. And that was pretty expensive. That's about a $75,000 grant. And we'd have to match that at 5% if we did get it. So we're working on that. I think that's being by the end of the month. But one of our folks are working on that for us. So trying to get the free money we can get it. So. That's all I had. Any questions?
No. You didn't do events on the roof yet?
No. When I talked to those folks this morning, I asked them about the vent, but I want to make sure that they were adjusting the doors and stuff, but they haven't got that vent.
Okay. We need a motion to appoint Tom Johnson as the assistant chief?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to appoint Tom Johnson, assistant chief to the fire department on their recommendation.
I'll second that.
Been moved, supported that Tom Johnson be appointed Assistant Fire Chief. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Carried. Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
Liquor inspector, there's no changes. Seasonal operations have closed for the year, but other than that, there's nothing drastic going on with that. Old Prison quarterly report, there is none. The Revenue Sharing Board will distribute funds on the 9th of December at 5 o'clock here. There's nothing, no news from the Bar League Improvement Board. Under unfinished business, Mr. Smith is here about the McGinnis-Cromer drain. If you would please.
Hi, my name is Tom Smith. I'm the County Drain Commissioner. I'm here to give you a proposal on the McGinnis-Cromer project that we're going to be having coming up. I have with me Dave Christian, who is the engineer for that project. And he will be giving you a little bit of a rundown of what we're planning on doing and how we're going to do it. You want him too? So got two. Yeah. Maps. So I will turn it over to Dave. Dave will be glad to explain to you and give you our proposal.
My name is David Christian. I'm with DC Engineering. We're a professional civil engineering and surveying company. We've been working with Manistee County Drain Commissioner on the McGinnis and Cromer drains located here. They discharge down by the hospital and drain lands along 31 going up towards the casino on both sides of the road. The McGinnis drain was originally constructed in 1904 and had extended up to the place where US 31 crosses the drain, just on the, I guess it would kind of be on the west side of the airport there. In 1920, the Cromer drain was constructed, and that extends another 2 miles to the east at that point. And at this point in time, the drain has some severe problems. So we're here to talk to you about getting together and working on developing a cost-effective and a well-functioning drain to serve the residents of Manistee Township here. It's important to the drain office here that we get participation from the community as we go forward. We don't want people to feel bad at the end of the project. We don't want people to feel wrong at the end of the project. But we have a serious problem out here. We have a pipe which is on the verge of collapsing, and that serves drains about 7 square miles of land. So to this end here, we would like to form an advisory committee. And in that advisory committee, we're looking for participation from the township. We also are going to be looking for participation from the tribal community, who owns a lot of land in this drainage district. We're also going to be looking for participation from at least one resident who lives in the drainage district and will be a part of the project. So that's kind of where we're trying to go, so that everyone can feel good about this as we go forward, and so that we have a mechanism to communicate what's going on the project with people in the community here. Now, I put together a little paper for you here. Starts out with a statement of the problem. The drains were constructed originally under what's now known as Public Act 40. It's commonly referred to as the drain code. They've been a long-standing drain, and in May of 2011, there was a severe rain event, and at the time that rain came down, there was flooding that occurred up on Kemmer Road. And I actually have here some photographs.
That was the only time there was ever any water in my basement too. I think that's what they call it.
Well,
100-year rain or something?
It's a funny thing. They call it the 100-year storm, which really what that means is You get 1 in 100 chance of having that storm occur in a year. You can go to the casino and you can hit twice in a row on a slot machine. Doesn't mean that your odds are 200%. So that same flood event could occur any day now. And I have here some pictures just so everyone can remember what we had. This is a picture of one of the houses up there with the water standing in the yards. People outside want to see these here too. You can pass them around here, I don't need them back. There's just some pictures here of just more houses with water standing around them. These houses are all on well-accepted fields. This is a public health issue when we have these kind of flooding events.
Show the camera, please.
Which color?
So at any rate, subsequent to the flooding, they hired DC Engineering to come in and take a look at that situation, and we did a couple different things. One, we looked at the overall drainage area. We estimated the amount of flow that could be generated in the drainage area, and we looked at the culverts on the system, which is a 4x4 box culvert going underneath 31. And it's a 30-inch pipe going down Kemmer Road underneath the hospital, and it discharges to the lowlands and then ultimately discharges to the Manistee River. So we looked at that and we found that the system was grossly undersized. And we also ran a camera down the pipe, and there's 800 foot of that 30-inch concrete pipe, which the bottom is completely gone out of. So it looks kind of like an arch sewer now, but it's not what we used to build as arch sewers. It's a concrete round pipe, and the bottom has been washed out. We use what's called NASCO ratings. It's a rating for the condition of sewer pipes, and this sewer pipe is rated a 5, which is the highest rating you can get. It's on the verge of collapse, and I'm serious. Don't want to belittle the situation. That pipe could collapse at any time. It's just that bad. And we have internal pictures of that if people want to take a further look at what we're looking at here. So kind of brings me. Let's see here. Okay, we had 2 public meetings to kind of inform the public. After each one of our portions of our study, and we invited the public in to listen to it. We had those over at the high school in Manistee. And subsequent to that, we received a valid petition from the residents of the drainage district to move forward with the drain project. My request of you today is to re-petition the project. And the reason that I'd like a re-petition of this project is that the petition that we received covered 3 points. It said, fix the pipe, fix the flooding problem, and expand the drainage district. Now, in the map that I handed you, the blue outline with very square edges, those are the established drainage districts for the McGinnis and the Cromer drain that were established back in the early 1900s. The red outline is the land which the water would flow to that drain. Now, this shouldn't shock us because we know that back in the early 1900s, often drainage districts were established only including the lowest land. We no longer do that. Everyone who contributes water to the pipe helps pay for that pipe, and that's the way the county drains work. So we have expanding the drainage district, but what we didn't include in the petition, or what was not included in the petition, is a consolidation of the drain. And right now, the McGinnis drain runs from the hospital to US 31 as its upstream limit. The Cromer drain runs from US 31 to a point about 2 miles east of US 31. It should never have been left as 2 separate drains. It should be a single drain. So we'd like to consolidate that drain. To do that, we need to have a revised petition. We can't take language away from the petition that has been received from the freeholders, but we'd like to add to that petition the request to consolidate the drains. So
what's the advantage?
It eliminates a duplicate drainage district. It establishes a single assessment role for the overall drain, and it's maybe it's a economy by scale.
What's the disadvantage?
I have no disadvantages to.
Well, the disadvantage, okay, I guess we want to make it one name instead of two.
That's correct. One name, one legal entity. A drainage district is a legal public corporation. We want to make it one legal public corporation for the purposes of managing the drain.
I guess I don't understand if it's McGinnis Cromer, or if it's McGinnis, or if it's Cromer.
But they're looking for a new name, John. The Dance Drain.
Hey, yeah.
Anyhow. Carry on, that's what you're looking for from the board.
Yes. And that will clean up the drain office records, and we'll move forward with, I mean, we have to move forward. The drain office has a valid petition. He is bound by code to move forward with the drain project. But it's cumbersome doing it under the two different names. We should have it. It should be consolidated to a single drainage district. It's all the water from that red outlined area comes out of that pipe underneath the hospital.
If there's a special tax assessment, won't that bring more people into it if it's one name?
That's just like the Bar Lake project that you people were talking about, so that we could spend more money because the district is bigger and it becomes less per parcel.
Becomes less per parcel. That's right. That's right. And
This is the county drain, Tom, what's the county's position? What is the county's position? It's a county drain.
They're in agreement with us making it one drain.
You got any money?
Do they have any money?
Yeah.
I don't know. They tell me they don't.
I mean, that's the bottom line here. I mean, what it's gonna cost to repair this thing, who's gonna pay for it? Right?
Yeah, right, that's the bottom line.
the payees of the petition of the project are going to be the residents, the township at large, the county at large, Michigan Department of Transportation, and the Road Commission. Those are the people who will be assessed for the drainage improvements.
And right as it is right now, MDOT, and if I talk to MDOT, they will pay up to about 36% of this project with us because of how much we've captured on their highway. So there's a good chunk of money for MDOT.
And how much do they expect the total project to cost?
The repair of the pipe, the project cost is estimated at $325,000 is the estimated cost of repairing the 30-inch pipe. The flood protection has not really been estimated yet. We need to do a bunch of groundwork to figure out what can be done there. So it's not an inexpensive fix.
Can this be done in phases?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we want to form an advisory committee here, because we don't want people to be broke because we had to fix the infrastructure.
County drain.
Yeah, the county drain.
Well, how will all the residents that this is going to impact be notified so that we don't have the same thing happening as we have here tonight?
When we sent out the notifications for the public meetings which were held, they were mailed to every landowner within the red outline of the map which we passed out earlier today.
And can I get a copy of what that stated? I mean, I think they realized there was public hearings, but didn't realize what that impact was, not to be at the public hearing. So I just been trying to avoid what they do.
I've never gotten a letter.
We never.
I don't, you're in Barlick.
No, yeah, Bar Lake here.
I don't believe you're in the district.
Well, it's on East Cot Road.
You're not in the district, I don't believe, right?
He's talking about something.
Yeah.
We're talking about
the
district.
drain.
We're talking about the people
We're
that
not
are in the
just-
drainage district.
Okay, I was wondering if I was.
No, I don't believe
So
so.
I went to
I know
the
you're
meeting, okay? Yeah. Or one of them, information managers. And we can fix that drain. And at the end of the day, when we get this 100-year rain tomorrow, it's still not gonna be adequate to handle that drain. Or to handle the rain, I should say.
Right.
So we know that going into the project.
Yep.
So then what are these two houses gonna do that you showed us when we get the 100-year rain?
Well, there's two components to it. The first thing that has to be fixed is, and I'm gonna kind of back up on your question here a second. First thing that has to be fixed is that pipe has to be fixed, because if that pipe fails, it's not a 100-year rain that's gonna cause that flood, it's the rain we had today that's gonna cause that flood. Because there would be no outlet. So that's the severe problem. In regards to providing protection to the homes, you can, golly, we could design it and provide them protection from 1,000-year rain event. They may not be able to afford that. How we would protect the people keeping the same size pipe is that we're going to store some of that water upstream of that location and release it slowly. So, how much protection can we get for them? We can get them more protection. If a 100-year storm is the magical number, then maybe we can do that. But it becomes as cost-effective.
That's what I would be interested in seeing, is the storing of the water upstream, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
If we stored water upstream all the way to the beginning of this drain, and in essence left the water where it originates, by the time we get to the pipeline, it's going to be a trickle.
You certainly could take an awful lot of it off. You're right. You're right. But you still have to fix the pipe. It still doesn't repair the pipe.
But could the pipe be downsized at that point in time?
No.
I mean, if you're storing the water and let it out.
If you could store enough water, yes. Yes, sir. Absolutely. You could downsize the pipe, and maybe we could come up with a more cost-effective. But the bottom line is it's a lot of pipe.
Yeah.
And that pipe goes very near homes. So there's, the construction gets expensive.
There was a lot more than just two homes that were flooded too.
Oh, absolutely.
We have a lot of pictures, we have a lot of the pictures, and we'll bring them in.
The better part is that.
No, I've never had water in my basement, and with that particular storm, I did. It ruined the carpet in my basement. It'll probably never happen again.
Right.
I mean, it was a very unusual storm. Granted.
And that's where we need to make some good decisions about how much protection people want to have, because the more protection you get, the more money you spend.
Sure.
I'm not interested in going out and spending a lot of money. I'm interested in making sure that we have functioning drain that's not on the verge of collapsing here.
Well, Dave, when you talk about backing that water up, that drain, if I remember right, because I used to be around that whole site, that drain is pretty good size, but it's full of trees, and is it still?
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
it's still,
So if that's all cleaned out, that's obviously gonna help these matters, right?
No,
Make it worse.
no.
Make it worse?
We clean the drain out, make it slick so that water can get down there faster. We're gonna flood the neighborhood just, down on Timber Road quicker. We wanna slow the water down.
Also, leave them trees.
Yeah, let's leave some of those trees grow in the drain. It's cheaper to leave them there, and they slow the water down.
Okay.
But what I need to find to make the solution work is I need to find an area there, and that's a nice, low, flat flood valley. I need to find a spot where we can build, if you will, a dike across the flood valley with, an outlet, a piped outlet from it, so that it'll only let so much water through at a time. And we need to put several of those in a row. We need to find landowners who are...
Yeah, it's all private land.
It's all private land, that's right. So now we have to talk about easements and rights to do this so that it floods up. to some people, it may be a benefit, maybe if they're a duck hunter or something, they'd like to have that flooding land.
Can't you run this water over to Bar Lake and raise that level?
Problem solved,
I
Dave.
never thought of that, hey, that's a good idea.
I think all this rain has made sense.
Why you got the big chair?
Okay, so you need somebody, you need a resident?
We two requests. The first request is, will the township re-petition the project so that we can use the same language from the original petition and add to it to consolidate the drainage district so that we can put it all under one name. That's one request, and if the township is willing to do that, then the drain office's legal staff will prepare that petition and deliver it over here for your next meeting. And that takes a signature on the petition. As a township, you can solely petition for the project, and then there'd be a board resolution that comes along with that petition. That's our first request. Our second request is, regardless if we move forward in this path or not, is that we'd like a member of the township to be on the committee, to kind of an advisory committee, so that everyone knows how we're spending money, what decisions we're making,
And maybe even be able to come up with some ideas to even save money.
Absolutely.
That's what we really want to do.
I was on the original advisory committee a year ago, and
Would you be willing to?
Clara was supposed to be, and she was ill, so I took her place, and we just carried on. So I'm familiar with the project.
Would you be willing to do that?
The reports. I would.
Thank you.
I'll do it next year.
Well, you're more familiar with it than...
Yeah.
I will make ourselves available to the township board. You have a big stake in this here. We certainly want to keep you involved in what we're doing here.
Well, let's take these one thing at a time. I don't have a problem with the name, and we can call it whatever you want to call it,
But I can't understand how changing the name helps the simplicity of the office. Can they spell Cromer McGinnis?
That's not,
We have two public entities that we're trying to do one project within, and then assess across two public entities. It makes more sense to make it one public entity so we can have one. If we keep it as two public entities, then we'll have to have a second assessment role, and it makes it more
then
complicated.
you have to hire a lawyer to do we have to have our lawyers to do the assessment roles. That's a cost, so that we're cutting out just one, a lot of costs on just
well, it's
one.
two drains is what you're saying.
There's two drains.
Two drains, and you want to make it one.
We want to make it one, and it's gonna cost, it'll cut off quite a bit of expense. I had no idea.
You just keep it public notification.
Yeah, and the public notifications, we don't have to make two of them. We don't have to have two different boards to sit on, you know what I mean? Or, I have to form two different boards. And those boards that we form, we have to pay them. And, so it would be just easier to do one.
It's one drain.
One drain.
There should have always been one drain. I don't know why in 1920 they didn't just do a drain extension, which is the standard way we do it today.
What do you want to call it? Doesn't matter to me. Let's move on here.
I just call it the McGinnis Cromer. I just doubled the name, but
Put a little dash between it.
yeah, we put a dash between it. I
Yeah,
guess.
Prior to the rain in 11, everybody here knew the drain is the county farm drain.
We'll just go with county farm drain.
Makes sense to me.
That's what it was always.
Is that a motion?
Sign your name, please.
Yeah.
It'll be fine with me.
Is there support?
I support.
It's been moved, supported that the McGinnis and Cromer drain be renamed the county farm drain from the beginning to the end. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Now you have a county farm drain to deal with.
So at your next meeting, which would be the first Wednesday in December?
No.
Second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Quite the stick.
It'll be on December 12th.
So if we have...
December 12th.
It's on the agenda.
Okay, I'll get it on my calendar here. So, Tom, your drain commissioner.
Is there cables yet?
I checked a couple of places and they didn't have them, so I was gonna go online and see if I could find them.
Well, if we run across them, if somebody buy, like if my wife and I are somewhere and we happen to pick them up, just call the office and let us know that we already have them so that we quit all quick looking.
I checked at Sam's up in Traverse, because we got them there before. Somebody else I knew got them there before and they didn't have any.
What size are we looking for? 5 foot, 6 foot?
I think 8 foot.
No,
Six
round.
Round.
Swiderski Brothers, prep site approximately 6,600 square feet for future 3-inch asphalt. Salvage existing gravel, cut balance of soils to 9 inches deep for placement of 9 inches of deep gravel, crushed concrete, including reuse of salvaged gravel, match existing asphalt on the northeast corner and edges of new concrete.
You're watching Manistee Public Access Television.
Anfield Road. All gravel to be graded and compacted in place. Job cost $6,490. That one, so this one is from Ron Brown and Son. Grade area as shown on print for desired slopes and elevations, and add gravel to area as needed for sufficient base as per enclosed print. $1,965. Excavating bid to subgrade and gravel 6-inch thick and compact approximately 6,600 square feet at 55 cents a square foot. No total. Did I calculate?
60.
Favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Ford was a bid again.
At 35.60 and 35 per Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved, supported that the snowplow bids be awarded to Forbes at $35 an hour for pickup, $60 an hour for a loader, and $35 per sanding. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Carried. I'll support. Been moved, supported that the bills be paid as presented. Any discussion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I support.
Been moved, supported, we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.